I'm sitting here reflecting on this morning's verdict in Tickle v Giggle and flipping between being outraged at the fact that women and girls have no sex-based rights in Australia, are not even recognised as a legal category anymore in Australia, and sort of being like, well, we already know this, we've known this for some time, and we're in a situation now where we need to change the law and to get those sex-based rights back. I guess it was particularly confronting and disheartening to hear the judge maintain in open court that sex is changeable, that men who identify as women are basically a subcategory of women, that, you know, cis and trans are relevant and helpful terms, and to hear him basically embracing the framework of gender ideology, and to basically confirm that women and girls have no right whatsoever to female-only spaces. But Sal and all the women and men behind her in Australia and around the world are in this for the long haul. And we are not going to rest until women's sex-based rights are reinstated in law, until reality is reinstated in law, and until our law reflects the fact that human beings cannot change sex, that men can never be women, and that women and girls are entitled to female-only spaces, services, and sports.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So this is the continuation from my last video that I made in response to the fallout of the Sal Grover and Roxanne Tickle debacle that we're unfortunately having to wade ourselves through because it is just absolutely absurd. So what I didn't mention is why we are in this mess in the first place. So we had a prime minister, the first female prime minister that was ever elected, and I swear she was a DEI hire. That's the only reason why she was elected PM. I didn't vote for her, and I'm thankful that I didn't. But also the fact is she claims to be a woman, but she doesn't even know what a woman is. Who am I talking about exactly? I'm talking about the one, the only, and unfortunately, Julia Gillard, who did nothing good for this country at all except plunge it into more debts and made it very, very hard for women everywhere to actually be somebody. She thought that she was doing right by women, but really what she was doing was propping up the likes of men that choose to identify as being women. So Julia Gillard changed or set about changing the laws to suit the fact that you can have a gender identity now, which, as we know in the law, shouldn't be there because it is fluid, and things that are in the law should not be fluid. They should be concrete, sound, and black and white, things that make sense. You can't just, I've got an identity as a man. Okay, you win. You're going to be granted a lot of money. Like that is nonsense. That is absurd. But removing women's ability to describe themselves as a group is the ultimate act of male oppression. If a woman can't identify herself as an actual woman and the rest of society doesn't know what that means, nor do they really care, especially in a court of law, which really does matter in a healthy functioning society. If the court of law is broken and on the side of biological men, women have got no right, they've got no help, and they've got no support. That's dangerous. So this is what Femme Hononets said. Dear Julia Gillard, she actually tagged her. I cried with joy when you became PM and wept with sadness when you were ousted. I'm glad that she was ousted. I didn't cry at all. And I wasn't happy that she became PM either. I had no idea until much later what your legacy would be and the damage you had done. I saw it straight away. When a person tells you exactly and shows you exactly who they are, you damn well better listen to them. Women are so much more worse off now because you changed because of the changes you made to legislation. For shame. So here is Julia Gillard yelling and screaming at the top of her lungs in court, and the prime minister that came after her was Tony Abbott, who was a good prime minister. I had no issues with him at all. People just didn't like him because he spoke slowly. One way to not like somebody. Again, it's the same thing we're seeing in America. Don't like the way someone talks? Don't like you. Won't vote you into office. Or the Americans. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. Anyway, so here is Julia Gillard talking about how she won't be lectured on sexism. I love Tony Abbott's response. I will not be lectured by this man about sexism and misogyny, but guess what? Julia Gillard Your legacy is that of sexism and misogyny to your own biological sex. How about that? Well done, Julia Gillard. So this video has aged rather well, hasn't it? So you're staring in the face of a man that actually believes that you're a woman and knows that he's a man, not a woman, and you're saying you will not be lectured. But get this, Julia Gillard, you're being lectured now by the likes of real women everywhere who are accusing you of this travesty because you changed the legislation, you changed the laws, you made it possible, you made it so. For shame. And you have the gall to say you're not going to be lectured by a man that doesn't believe in misogyny because he's not a misogynist, and he doesn't like sexism either because he wasn't a sexist pig like you claimed that he was. But he ended up doing good things for this country. You, on the other hand, did not.
And in so doing, I say to the Leader of the Opposition, I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not. And the government will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. Not now, not ever. The Leader of the Opposition says that people who hold sexist views and who are misogynists are not appropriate for high office. Well, I hope the Leader of the Opposition has got a piece of paper and he is writing out his resignation. Because if he wants to know what misogyny looks like in modern Australia, he doesn't need a motion in the House of Representatives, he needs a mirror. That's what he needs. Let's go through the opposition leader's repulsive double standards, when it comes to misogyny and sexism. We are now supposed to take seriously.
Look, I'm very happy to answer your question, but I do worry this has turned into a kind of got-you parlour game. There are a number of people who genuinely believe that they are trapped in the wrong body and they want to be recognised as the gender that their mind and soul have for always told them that they.
So it's interesting how Julia Gillard is accusing Tony Abbott of being a sexist and a misogynist, and yet she's the one that changed the law to reflect misogyny and sexism. These people are insufferable. And by the way, I can't stand Julia Gillard's voice. She's, again, an insufferable human being, and she's going to rot in a special place one day. I truly believe that. But yeah, this clip has rather aged well for Julia Gillard, hasn't it? I will not be lectured. I will not be lectured. You can't tell me. You can't lecture me. I will not. Not now, not ever. Well, guess what, Julia Gillard? Everything wrong with Australia right now is because of you. The reason why Sal Grover lost the case against the biological man identifying as a woman is because of you. Well done, Julia Gillard. The reason why the rest of the world is laughing and rather concerned at the same time at Australia is because of you. Again, I'll say it. Well bloody done. Alison Bailey goes, Sal Grover lost part of her case. Roxanne Tickle, a trans-identified male, has succeeded in his case of indirect gender identity discrimination for being refused access to Sal's female-only app. This should be a wake-up call if one were needed. I think a lot more than just a wake-up call is needed now. I think a total revolution is needed, total shake-up. Gender identity legislation leaves women with no enforceable boundaries against any man. I hope she appeals. She will. Sal Grover says, unfortunately, we got the judgment we anticipated. The fight for women's rights continues. So it shall. Roxanne Tickle is a man, according to Angie Jones. I agree. And this person with the emojis in Australia, a judge just ruled that this is a woman. We are officially through the looking glass here. We live in a very dystopian reality. Sonia Douglas goes, are you mad, Australia? Indeed we are, Sonia, unfortunately. Not all of us, but seemingly just the courts and modern feminists and a lot of other people that just are broken in the head. do you really think, politicians, forgot about politicians, do you really think you can rewrite truth and reality for 51% of the world's population? Well, evidently they think they can, and they have done so, thanks to an actual woman, Julia Gillard, that doesn't know what a woman is. Do you honestly think this mansplaining, boundary-breaching, self-entitled paraphiliac has changed the ordinary meaning of his sex? I don't think he has, but he believes so. Anyway, so this is before the whole court case took place, and Roxanne Tickle claiming to be the victim yet again, and how Roxanne Tickle became known as Roxanne Tickle.
Roxy, you're a transgender woman from regional New South Wales. You played hockey for 10 years from when you were 16 years old, but you stopped when you were 26. Why?
Something didn't feel quite right, and it has taken me decades longer to look back and try and dissect that and understand that I really didn't like being in the male changing rooms. I felt really uncomfortable there. I didn't like the smells or the sounds.
The reasons for female-only spaces have not gone away. So we should not be in a position to have to justify them. I'm sick of when people go, but why do you need a female-only space? Because we want them. That's enough for me. We do not have to relive the trauma we have gone through at the hands of men every time we want to defend why we want to be away from them occasionally. Just have a refuge away from you, whether it's online or in real life. And
we can support you. We can also, of course, thank you very, very sincerely.
Thank you
for fighting this for women.
That's what I say to people when I'm just saying, like, please, I need the finances, I need the help. The only way I can repay you, other than like just my endless gratitude, is let's go and get our rights back. Like, let's just use it, get our rights back, and end this madness so we can all move on with our lives.
Now, I want to point out the look on the woman's face. Like, the hell? I didn't like being in the male changing rooms. The hell is wrong with you, man? You're a male. I've spent over a decade looking back, reflecting, and trying to figure out why that was, that I didn't feel comfortable in male change rooms. So therefore, I needed to identify as being a woman. So therefore, I could feel safe and comfortable in a female changing room. Meanwhile, the women don't feel safe by your presence being there. But that doesn't matter, because what matters the most is that I feel comfortable and I feel safe and respected, because I feel like a woman. I feel like something wasn't right with me. This is a very sick, twisted man, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already noticed. A very sick and twisted man, someone who thought that it would be right to take a real woman to court. And lo and behold, the man won. So there you have it, people. Honestly, like, I don't know what more I can say aside from the fact that we need a total course correction, total upheaval of Australian law, and even some of the cultural elements too, because we're doomed. We're done. A man won against a woman, leaving women with no rights at all. Funny how the decision was made by a man defending an actual man, not defending a woman. I just cannot believe this. But anyway, you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.